Alien Spirit Ward watched him slay the beast, bare-handed, then whispered, "Claim me human." The sludge of Arcanis clung to Milo's tongue, acrid and metallic, a taste he would carry with him long after death. He spat, but the grit and bitterness only deepened, scraping his throat raw. His helmet's visor flickered with static, the HUD shuddering in bursts of fractured light. "Core systems offline," the message repeated, a grim pulse. Milo ripped the helmet free, letting Arcanis's stinging air sear his throat and nostrils. The air tasted of burned metal, ozone, and rot. Better, at least, than suffocating on the recycled dread that had haunted the dropship's claustrophobic hold. He forced his breath steady, ears ringing in the aftermath. The Resolute Ember lay shattered behind him, its hull twisted into jagged sculpture by enemy fire. Smoke curled from the sundered bulkhead, painting long shadows across the mud. Around him, the bodies lay still, some human, some Zevran. The dusk of Arcanis pressed close, the outlines of the fallen already fading, as if the planet itself could not bear the memory. Milo flexed his hands. His right gauntlet was gone, the exposed skin smeared with coolant and blood. The joints of his battered armor wept slick, iridescent fluid with every movement, leaking away whatever protection remained. His comms sputtered, a snake of static, offering no hope of contact. He checked his sidearm, a battered coil pistol, scratched and scorched but loaded. 2 spare mags in his belt, and his survival blade, the edge notched from desperate use. From the smoldering haze, a figure took shape, stepping between the ruined bodies with an unhurried animal grace. Tall and slender, armored in overlapping plates that curved like fossil bone, she moved as if untouched by the carnage. Her skin was deep scarlet, almost luminous in the dusk. Crimson hair, wild and tangled, framed her face, sharp, high-boned, with ears tapering to elfin points. A jagged scar traced along her ribs, half hidden beneath the armor's edge. Sira, Zevran's spirit ward, guide of the dying, or so she claimed, though Milo had always dismissed her talk of sparks and shadows as ritual delusion. Their eyes met across the mud, across the broken, silent field. Sira's gaze lingered on his ruined armor, her lips set in a line that might have been disdain or pity. Milo imagined he could hear her thoughts. Broken, unfit, a liability. He straightened, jaw clenched, refusing to flinch from her assessment. Then the silence fractured. Sharp, skittering cries echoed from the blackened brush beyond the wreck. The predators were circling back, hunger burning in the spaces between their calls. Milo moved with trained caution, edging toward a cluster of shattered boulders, weapon up and ready. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Sira hesitate, a moment's stillness. Then she darted away, slipping into shadow toward a narrow gully. She was leaving him. Of course. The Zevran did not coddle the weak, but Milo would not let the end come easy. He was human. That had to mean something, even here. He pressed forward, using the boulders for cover, boots slipping in the muck. Every muscle screamed at him to rest, but he forced himself on, blood pounding in his ears. When he stumbled into the gully, the world narrowed to the ragged edges of his vision. He expected only teeth and talons, death, or perhaps the slow fade of blood loss. Instead, he found Sira crouched beside a mossy stone, pressing a blood-soaked cloth to her side. She looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes that he'd survived the sprint through the kill zone. "Evac sites north, 40 kilometers," he croaked, voice rasping from dust and pain. "I know," Sira replied. Her voice was low, melodic, words edged with something ancient. "The land remembers." He let out a short, bitter laugh. "Sure it does." He fell in beside her anyway, weapon loose in his grip, eyes scanning the gully's shadows. They moved together, her step nearly silent, every muscle tuned to the tremor of the earth, the scent of the wind. She read the land as if the stones spoke to her. Milo, by contrast, moved with a soldier's instinct, always plotting lines of fire and cover, tracking every potential threat. The uneasy alliance was silent, but tense, each watching the other, neither trusting. They skirted the rim of the gully, scavenging what little the dead had left behind. When Milo reached for a power cell embedded in the broken husk of a fallen beast, Syrah's hand snapped out, slapping his wrist away. "Don't," she hissed. "Their corruption spreads." Milo glared at her, voice tight. "It's just tech. We need the charge." She shook her head, crimson hair falling into her eyes. "You invite death if you take it. Your strength is in your heart, not your tools." He snorted. "You think spirit talk will get us out alive?" She said nothing, but her hand never left the hilt of her curved blade. Their argument was cut short by a fresh chorus of predator cries. Closer this time, echoing off the stone. Milo's heart hammered as shapes slid into view, camouflaged against the rocks. 6 in total, their bodies low and sinewy, claws gleaming with oily black ichor. He acted on reflex, firing twice. 2 beasts fell, twitching. A third pounced, claws screeching across the battered plating of his chest. He staggered, wind knocked from his lungs. Syrah's blade flashed in the dusk, slicing the creature down with a practiced lethal arc. Another predator lunged at her, jaws wide. Instinct overrode pain. Milo threw himself between them, shoulder crashing into the beast. Its talon ripped a deep gash in his thigh, fire blossoming up his leg. But he held on, shielding Syrah as she finished the rest with a blur of steel and crimson. When it was over, Milo collapsed onto his back, gritting his teeth as blood seeped hot down his leg. Syrah knelt beside him, her own wound forgotten, eyes searching his face. The disdain was gone, replaced by a strange, uncertain curiosity. "Why?" she asked quietly. "You're broken. You could have run." He managed a ragged grin, fumbling for his medkit. "That's not how we do things," he said, patching the wound with shaking hands. "Not where I come from." Syrah watched him, her expression unreadable, fascinated almost. His stubbornness, his willingness to bleed for another, these things were more alien to her than any artifact. For the first time, Milo thought he saw the spark she spoke of, flickering quietly between them, defiant in the gloom. They found shelter in a cavern, the darkness swallowing them whole as soon as they ducked beneath the dripping stone arch. Every step echoed, their breaths loud and ragged in the silence. The air was thick with damp and something fouler, predatory, metallic, like old blood on rusting iron. Milo's leg burned with every stride. Syrah pressed one arm to her side, blood crusting where the bone plate was split. Together they pressed deeper, drawn by necessity rather than hope. The light from Milo's cracked wrist lamp jittered across the walls. He expected rough stone, but the surface was wrong, too smooth, too regular. The walls pulsed with faint blue glyphs, shifting and writhing as if alive. Syrah paused, one hand splayed on the markings, her eyes narrowing in concentration. "This isn't a cave," she whispered, her curved blade clearing its sheath with a quiet rasp. "It's a den." Milo's free hand went to his pistol. "A den for what?" Her answer was a slight shake of her head. "We walk in shadows not our own." A guttural rip echoed from deeper within, a sound that vibrated in their bones. They edged forward, senses taut. At the mouth of the main chamber, they crouched low, peering out. There, bathed in the sickly blue luminescence, was a monstrous 6-legged beast. Its armored hide glistened with oily mucus, each segment overlapping in a pattern that made Milo's skin crawl. Claws, curved like scythes, tore into the carcass of some unrecognizable prey. Clusters of black eyes glowered, unblinking, as the beast feasted. All around, smaller creatures scuttled over the uneven ground, their bodies spined and segmented. They tended pale, pulsing egg sacs, carrying them in their mandibles or nudging them into shallow pits. The scent of corruption was thick, heavy with the tang of old kills and birth. Milo's stomach clenched as realization hit. "We need to go back," he breathed, voice barely audible. Syrah's eyes never left the beast. "The way is blocked," she replied, her voice low but certain. "There's only forward." Milo risked a glance behind. No light, only the maze of glyphs and the memory of predators in the night. He met her gaze, and for a moment, their shared fear was absolute. No escape. He checked his pistol. One mag left, not enough. Against that thing, it was a joke. He might as well throw stones. Syrah closed her eyes, murmuring in the Zevran tongue, her words curling around Milo like a cool wind. He envied her faith, but all he felt was grim resolve, a taut line stretched between hope and doom. "Any ideas?" he muttered. Syrah's lips brushed the last syllable of her prayer. "Strike true. Die clean," she said, eyes shining. "If we must." Milo grunted, scanning the beast for a weakness. Its armored plates overlapped, but at the joints, softer tissue flexed with each motion. Breathing vents fluttered along its flanks. A cluster of smaller eyes twitched near the base of its skull, thinner armor there. He cataloged each flaw, knowing he'd likely have time to exploit only one. Suddenly, the Alpha's head snapped up. Every one of its clustered eyes locked onto them. It shrieked, a sound so piercing Milo's vision blurred. The smaller creatures hissed, scattering from the eggs. The pack surged forward, hunger and fury in every stride. Milo fired, shots ringing in the cavern's hollow throat. The first two, then three, dropped, sizzling where Syrah's staff lanced them with blue arcs. Electricity cracked the air as she swept her staff in lethal circles, slicing through the swarm. The smaller beasts died quickly, but the Alpha was undeterred. It hurtled toward them, each step shaking the stone. Syrah met it first, her staff braced with both hands. The weapon sparked as she swung, a blue halo flaring around its tip. She struck the beast's snout, sending crackles of energy skittering across its armored plates. The Alpha bellowed, its bulk slamming her aside. Syrah crashed into the wall, breath exploding from her chest. Milo barely registered her fall. He was all motion, all desperation. His pistol spat its last round, the click of the empty chamber a death knell. He dropped the gun, grasping for his broken blade. With a feral yell, he triggered his suit's last reserves of power, feeling the old machine whine in protest. The servos gave him one last burst, enough for a desperate leap beneath the monster's guard. He slid beneath its snapping jaws, jamming the blade into a joint at its forelimb. Hot blood sprayed his face, acrid and burning. The Alpha reared, shrieking, but Milo clung on, tearing at the exposed flesh. The beast bucked. Milo's body screamed in protest, but he would not let go. He found a cluster of breathing vents, gaping and wet. With his ruined gauntlet, he plunged his hand inside, wrenching at the soft tissue until something gave with a sickening pop. The Alpha howled. Milo scrambled onto its back, scrabbling for purchase on the slick armor. He drove his blade into the seam at the base of its skull, then ripped, using every ounce of strength and will. The plates tore free, blood gushing in sheets. With a final animal roar, Milo wrenched the beast's head aside, vertebrae snapping. The Alpha collapsed, shuddering, and was still. The smaller creatures scattered, vanishing into cracks and tunnels, their egg sacs forgotten in their flight. Milo stumbled from the corpse, shaking, soaked in sweat and alien blood. He doubled over, gasping, the taste of iron thick in his mouth. Syrah limped to him, her staff dragging behind her. Her mask of indifference was gone, replaced by something raw and open. She reached out, her hand trembling, and touched his cheek. "Bind with me, human," she whispered. Her fingers were warm, leaving trails of heat across his battered skin. Between their brows, a faint silver glow shimmered. a pulse of energy that seemed to thrum with the rhythm of two hearts. Milo staggered, not from his wounds, but from the sensation that bloomed in his chest. It was as if a door had opened inside him, and Syrah's presence flooded through. He felt her awe, her reverence, her confusion, all tangled with his own disbelief. Another heartbeat echoed within him, not his own. "What did you do?" he gasped, hand rising to the spot where her fingers pressed. Syrah's eyes shone, radiant with something beyond language. "I honored you," she said, voice trembling. "I have made the soul link. Our lives are joined. Your strength is mine. My spirit is yours. If you fall, so will I." Milo reeled, the world spinning. The cavern, the corpse, the blue glyphs, none of it seemed quite real. He backed away a step, shaking his head. "You can't just do that," he protested, voice sharp with panic. "That's not your choice." Her confusion was honest and unguarded. "It's not about choice. It's about truth. I saw a force that refused to break. My spirit recognized yours. The link was inevitable." He stared at her, chest rising and falling with ragged breaths, the new pulse of her spirit thrumming alongside his own. Now they were trapped, not just in the den, but in this unasked-for intimacy. The reality settled over him, heavy and absolute. If she died, so would he. He was no longer just himself. Syrah's hand slipped from his cheek, but the warmth lingered, a promise and a warning both. They were bound, for better or worse, their fates entwined in the heart of the enemy's den. The climb back to the surface was torture. Every ledge was a challenge, every handhold slick with ancient moss and the residue of the lair's foul breath. The soul link pulsed between Milo and Syrah, a raw, open channel neither could close. When Milo's thigh throbbed with agony, the pain echoed in Syrah's side, making her falter. When Syrah's breath caught in a wince, Milo felt a sharp, ghostly ache beneath his ribs. They moved as one wounded animal, not two, their burdens doubled and intertwined. He caught his foot on a jagged stone and nearly toppled. Instantly, Syrah grunted and pressed a hand to her own leg. Milo cursed beneath his breath. "Sorry," he muttered, sweat stinging his eyes. "Do not apologize," Syrah answered through gritted teeth. "Your wounds are mine now." They climbed in silence, the dim light of the glyphs fading behind them. It was maddening, this forced intimacy. When Milo's nerves frayed, Syrah's pulse fluttered in his mind. When she stumbled, he tasted the bitterness of her shame. Her every unguarded feeling pressed into him. Impatience, pride, the deep ache of fatigue. He tried to build walls, but the link was relentless, invasive, more intimate than anything he'd ever known. At last, they emerged into the alien wilds, where the air was sharp and damp, and the sky glimmered with the dying light of Arcanus's twin moons. They pressed on, side by side, moving beneath the warped silhouettes of strange trees and the looping shadows of unseen predators. The silence between them was broken only by the flashes of sensation shared without warning. A shadow slithered across the trail ahead, a suggestion of movement more than form. Syrah's mind flared with warning, primal and urgent, and Milo's hand snapped to his blade before he'd even registered the threat himself. His heart hammered. They froze, sharing a single breath. The shadow slid away. Milo let out a tense sigh. He wiped his brow, suddenly parched. Before he could voice the need, Syrah was already unscrewing the battered cap of her flask, pressing it into his hand. He drank gratefully, and through the link he tasted the memory of cold water on her tongue. They were two bodies, one nervous system. When the terrain narrowed, they squeezed together into a crevice, hidden from the searching eyes of a hunting pack. Milo could feel Syrah's heartbeat, the texture of her bone-plated armor against his shoulder, the heat radiating from her scarlet skin. But through the soul link, the connection went deeper. He felt a sudden rush of emotion, longing, pride, a child's fierce hope. Then, with blinding clarity. He saw a memory not his own, a sunlit courtyard paved with red dust, the sharp scent of flowering vines. A towering Zevran male loomed over a much younger Sira, his stance powerful but patient, blade in hand. Sira, all lean muscle and wild hair, mirrored his movements, every stroke a plea for approval. Milo felt her pride, her hunger for praise, the desperate wish to be seen. The vision dissolved as suddenly as it had come, leaving Milo breathless and unsteady. Sira stiffened beside him, eyes wide. He realized she was seeing something too, his own memory, bright and mundane. A flash of green grass after rain, the earthy smell of concrete, a grinning boy with tousled hair racing across the yard, a shaggy dog leaping at his side, the sound of laughter, pure and unguarded. Sira drew back, alarmed. "Stay out of my head," he whispered, voice hoarse. She pressed a trembling hand to her temple. "I can't help it," she replied, her voice raw. The bond responds to strong emotion. The hunting pack prowled past, their snouts questing, the faint blue glow of their eyes fading into the gloom. Sira and Milo barely dared to breathe. When the danger had passed, they slid from the crevice, still pressed close, each silent, each reeling from the echo of the other's soul. They walked on, a careful rhythm settling between them. Sira's stride was measured now, her posture wary but no longer guarded. Milo noticed that her hands shook less, her jaw unclenched. Yet the soul link buzzed with tension, each thought, each memory, each fleeting feeling tumbling between them. Later, when the light faded and they sheltered beneath the roots of a gnarled tree, Milo broke the silence. He leaned back, exhausted, every limb aching with borrowed and original pain. "Explain this," he said quietly, looking at Sira in the pale moonlight. "No riddles. What is the soul link?" Sira's eyes glimmered, reflecting the silver glow above. She hesitated, as if weighing every word. "It is a joining of essence," she began, voice soft. "All life is born of the inner spark. Most hide it, behind fear, behind machines, behind ritual. The Zevran nurture it. We honor it in battle, in passage, in death. To us, spirit is not metaphor. It is real." She paused, searching his face. "When I saw you fight the Den Mother, your shell was gone. Only your will remained. It was pure. The soul link found you." He shook his head, exhausted. "That was desperation, not destiny." She smiled, a brief flash of teeth in the darkness. "They are the same to us. Desperation is the truest will to live. The link is instinct. My spirit clung to yours to survive." Her words rang true, settling into him like the cool of evening after a hot day. He understood, suddenly, that it wasn't a gift or reward. It was a lifeline. She'd bound herself to the one thing she believed would not break, because she'd seen it tested and endure. Looking at her, Milo felt a rush of emotions that weren't entirely his own. Awe, ancient fear, and a raw vulnerability that took his breath away. He hesitated, then, tentatively, reached into himself and nudged the link. He sent her a memory, simple and clear, the feeling of the shaggy dog's fur beneath his fingers, the warmth of its tongue on his face, the laughter that followed them both through 1,000 small joys. Sira received it with wonder, her lips parting in surprise. In return, she sent him the sensation of standing beneath Arcanus's twin moons, the air thick with promise, the world vast and unknown. He felt her awe, her loneliness, the way the planet's beauty had never stopped hurting her. They lingered in this exchange, anger cooling, replaced by something deeper and far more terrifying, a magnetic bond with the alien woman who had chained her soul to his. Their bodies rested side by side, but it was their spirits that remained closest, circling one another in the silence, unsure yet unwilling to let go. For the first time since the crash, Milo let himself hope, not for rescue, but for understanding, for the fragile, dangerous connection that bound him to Syrah, and to the strange new world that pulsed beneath his feet. The route to the evac site wound through a narrow gorge, the path hemmed in by walls that pulsed, more organic than stone, veins of bioluminescent green crawling beneath their surface. The air was thick with the stench of the hive, acrid, sweet, nauseating. Milo's every step was sticky with resin, his boots leaving shallow prints that quickly oozed shut behind them. Above, drones patrolled in eerie formation, limbs moving with uncanny purpose, antennae twitching in time with the psychic hum that pressed on Milo's mind like invisible fingers. He shook his head, trying to focus, but the droning never stopped. A background chorus of alien intent. For Syrah, it was nearly unbearable. The psychic pressure of the nest hammered at her skull, a tide threatening to drown her every thought. Her breath came ragged, her eyes unfocused. She pressed her palm to her temple, fighting for air. "Stay with me," Milo hissed, glancing back as they slipped between a tangle of resin-sheathed roots. She didn't answer aloud, but he felt the shape of her struggle through the soul link, her pain, her panic, the way her thoughts scattered like frightened birds. But the link changed things. Anchored to Milo's stubborn, chaotic mind, Syrah found something solid, a jagged rock in the psychic flood. She seized it, held tight. A drone passed so close Milo could see the twitch of its mandibles, the oily sheen of its carapace. He stilled, every muscle tensed, but Syrah's mind brushed his. A wordless warning, a pulse of intent. Not yet. Wait. He obeyed, not questioning why. The drone swept past, vanishing into the shifting shadows. Milo exhaled, silent and grateful. They discovered a new way to communicate. Pure intent, thought made action. Words faded, meaning flowed through the bond. "I sense them moving," Syrah sent, her mental voice clearer than her whisper. He understood instantly, no translation needed. Her warnings came as images, flashes of movement, a sudden flare of danger. In return, he sent her direction. Tactical angles, paths of least resistance, the calculated patience of a hunter. They moved as one, a perfect blend of human tactics and Zevran ferocity. When Syrah caught the scent of danger, Milo adjusted their course, reading her intent like a second instinct. He spotted weaknesses, cracks in the resin, lapses in the drone's patrols, and she struck with silent, predatory grace, her blade cutting through chitin with deadly precision. At the heart of the hive, the walls opened into a vast chamber, air shimmering with heat. A geothermal vent hissed at the center, ringed by molten stone and a forest of brittle stalagmites. The drone traffic thickened, but Milo's eyes locked onto the vent, calculating. The heat shimmered, promising destruction if unleashed. He ducked behind a pillar, heart pounding, and caught Syrah's eye. Through the soul link, his plan unfolded. Images of fire, collapse, a nest in ruins. Risk flickered at the edge of the vision. Explosion. Slim odds of survival. "It's our only shot," he sent, resolve threading through the connection. Syrah's answer was immediate, wordless but fierce. "Together." They moved, timing each step to the hum of the drones, to the twitch of antennae and the rolling psychic tides. Syrah ranged ahead, drawing attention, her movements fluid and wild. Milo darted from cover to cover, planting charges at the vent's base, hands shaking but precise. Each explosive slid into place, wires snaking over the trembling stone. The drones sensed intrusion. The hum rose, a psychic shriek. Syrah spun, blade flashing as she held the swarm at bay, her movements a dance of exhaustion and necessity. Milo felt her muscles burn, her focus flicker. In return, Syrah drank in his relentless calm, his training, his certainty, the way he shut out everything but the mission. The timer blinked, 60 seconds. "Go!" Milo shouted. the word a command and a plea. They ran, pounding through corridors slick with resin, but a massive guardian beast dropped from the shadows to block the exit. Its bulk filled the passage, armored plates scraping stone. Its eyes were black and bottomless, claws raised to strike. The monster swung a limb, striking Sira and hurling her against the wall. Milo felt her pain as if it was his own, his chest hollowed, breath stolen. Sira slumped, vision swimming. The beast loomed, its shadow blotting out the exit. Milo's inner fire blazed, an ancient primal possessiveness. Mine. The thought was both his and not, a fusion of human fury and Zevran's spirit. He charged, reckless and fearless, slamming into the beast's side. The guardian roared, but Milo held on, forcing it back with the last of his strength. Sira, half conscious, felt the soul link flare, a torrent of Milo's strength pouring into her, driving back the dark. She pushed herself upright, every muscle screaming, and staggered toward the beast. Her broken blade glinted. She climbed onto its back, finding the narrow gap between armor and flesh, and drove the blade deep into its eye. The monster shrieked, convulsed, then toppled, motionless. The timer's red glow flashed in the gloom. The charges blew. The hive's heart erupted in fire and molten rock. Walls buckled, ceiling caved. The entire gorge trembled as the nest collapsed, resin and stone shattering in a chain of thunderous explosions. Milo stumbled, lungs burning, every limb leaden. Sira gripped his arm, dragging him toward the light as debris rained around them. Heat and smoke chased their heels, the world a blur of pain and panic. They burst from the collapsing canyon, tumbling onto the rim as the hive imploded behind them, the psychic shriek of the nest fading into silence. For a long moment they lay side by side, battered and bleeding, their chests rising and falling in the same rhythm. The soul link guttered, a single flickering flame burning between them, fragile and bright in the aftermath of destruction. Coalition rescue teams cut through Arcanus's gloom, spotlights slicing the dust and smoke as they converged on the ruined canyon. The air still thrummed with the aftershock of the hive's collapse, the crater rim glowing with dying embers. Milo and Sira sat entwined at the edge, battered and smeared with ash, the soul link a faint silver fire on their brows. Medics rushed forward, but the two refused to be parted, the luminous mark between them silencing all questions before they were asked. A medic, his face drawn and wary, knelt beside them. "We need to get you on stretchers." Milo shook his head. "We stay together." Sira's eyes flashed, her grip tightening around Milo's hand. The medic hesitated, glancing at the link shimmering between them, and then stepped back, radioing for guidance. Word spread through the ranks of rescuers. Something strange, something sacred. No one tried to separate them again. They were carried side by side aboard the medical ship, the ship's lights harsh after the murk of Arcanus. The hum of equipment, the murmur of voices, the sting of antiseptics, all seemed distant to Milo, as if happening to someone else. He felt Sira's presence always, steady as his own heartbeat. The soul link pulsed with exhaustion and relief, a current of mingled pain and fierce, stubborn hope. In the triage bay, a pair of surgeons argued about the best way to treat his wounds, sutures or regrowth foam. Sira answered for him, her mind cool and decisive. "The foam. He heals faster." The doctors, unnerved but obedient, complied. In return, when Zevran medics tended Sira, Milo's voice cut through their formal assessments. "She needs water, not drugs. She's not human. Don't sedate her." The Zevrans blinked at his certainty, then obeyed. The debriefings came next. Coalition officers in crisp uniforms circled Milo, their faces a study in disbelief. Commander Talvek, a scar creasing his cheek, leaned in over the table, voice taut with incredulity. "You're telling me you cleared an entire hive, alone?" Milo met the man's gaze, shoulders squared despite the pain. Not alone. He glanced at Sira, who stood silent and proud beside him. We were one. There was a long silence, broken only by the whirring of a data recorder. Talvik frowned. You expect us to believe that? That you, what, mind melded with a Zevran and took on a nest? Milo shrugged, the echo of Sira's confidence bracing him. Believe what you want, sir. But without her, I'd be dead. Without me, she'd be lost. We made it out because we stopped fighting each other. Talvik ran a hand over his stubble, the edge of doubt in his eyes replaced by a grudging respect. Whatever you did, it worked. You bought us time to secure the sector. The casualties would have been much higher otherwise. His tone softened, just a shade. Rest up, Lieutenant. You've earned it. On the Zevran side of the ship, Sira faced the elders, three imposing figures draped in ceremonial bone, their scarlet faces cold and remote. The chamber was lit by an eldritch glow, the walls etched with the flowing glyphs of her people. The lead elder, Mahira, fixed Sira with a piercing stare. You have bound yourself to an outsider, Mahira intoned, her voice echoing against the curved stone. A creature of machines and chaos. You risk the purity of the spark. You dishonor the tradition. Sira straightened, her stance unwavering. Through the link, Milo felt the storm of her emotions, defiance, hope, and a pride that was both hers and his. She spoke aloud, her words resonant, but her thoughts reached Milo directly, each syllable shimmering with conviction. I have seen the truth, Sira declared. The spark cares not for the vessel, only for the fire within. His burns brighter than any I have known. His chaos is not weakness, it is a shield. He is the storm that endures. We are strong because we are many, but we are stronger still when we choose our bonds. The elders exchanged glances, their faces unreadable. Mahira's gaze softened, just a fraction. You would risk everything for this? Link? Sira's answer was immediate, and Milo felt it in his bones. The soul link was never a shackle. It is a bond of choice, of will. I choose him. I choose us. Her words echoed in the chamber, not just as sound, but as a new creed, a challenge to old certainties. Milo, watching through the glass, felt her pride surge through the link, mingling with his own awe and gratitude. He realized in that moment that the soul link was no longer a chain, but a source of strength, something forged in fire and blood, unbreakable. After the hearings, Milo crossed the threshold to join her. The coalition officers and Zevran elders watched, silent and wary, as he approached Sira in the center of the chamber. He reached for her hand. She did not hesitate. Her scarlet fingers entwined with his, and the soul link glowed anew, a beacon of hope and defiance. Sira's voice rang out, clear and fearless. We are not enemies. We are not separate. We are stronger together than apart. For a heartbeat, the silence was absolute. Then quietly, the Zevran elders stepped aside. Commander Talvik nodded from the shadows, a reluctant smile breaking his stern facade. Around them, humans and Zevrans alike watched, uncertain but moved, the old boundaries blurred by the impossible bond before them. Hand in hand, Milo and Sira stood beneath the ship's lights, the soul link blazing on their brows. In that fragile, luminous moment, they became more than survivors. They became proof, living, breathing proof, that the spark could leap any gap, cross any divide, and burn brighter when shared. Weeks later, on the observation deck of the flagship, Milo's wounds had faded to scars, each line a memory, a map of their ordeal carved into flesh. He traced one across his forearm, feeling the ghost of Sira's hand glide over his skin at the same instant. She stood beside him, their fingers entwined, her presence a steady current beneath his thoughts. The soul link was no longer a raw flame, but a gentle hum, an undercurrent of shared sensation, a tide that rose and fell in time with their hearts. Outside the viewport, the stars swept by in endless procession, the void vast and unknowable. The flagship's hull gleamed silver, a vessel poised between worlds, but Milo and Syrah stood in their own orbit, separate from the bustle behind them. Uniformed officers passed, some bowing heads with newfound respect, others averting their gaze. Milo no longer noticed the whispers. He had grown used to the weight of eyes, human and Zevran alike, measuring, doubting, speculating. He glanced at Syrah. Her silhouette was serene, gaze fixed on the starfields. Her hair, once wild and tangled with blood, now gleamed like molten copper in the filtered starlight. She wore the bone-plated Zevran armor with effortless grace, the scar along her ribs visible where the plates parted. Yet her stance was softer now, the steel of battle replaced by something warmer, open. Within the link, her thoughts brushed his, cool and clear, like water over stone. He felt her calm, a balm against the restlessness that sometimes clawed at him in the dark. In return, she drew comfort from his presence, the slow-burning hope that had once seemed so alien. "My people don't understand," she sent, her thought a gentle brush, tinged with sadness, but laced with acceptance. "They watch us, whispering. Some say I have surrendered my spirit. Others think I have bound myself to a beast." Milo's answer was a smile in his mind, a quicksilver flicker of humor and affection. "Neither do mine," he replied. "You should hear the medtechs. They think you're my captor, or I'm yours. One corporal asked if I needed extraction, like you were a parasite or something." Syrah laughed, the sound low and musical, more felt than heard. "Are you?" Her question was more than a tease. Through the link, he tasted her uncertainty, an old wound, deep and unspoken. He turned to her, meeting her eyes. They were deep, knowing, reflecting both the stars and his own reflection within them. "Maybe both," he said softly. "Maybe neither. Maybe we're something new." She leaned in, her forehead touching his. The contact sent a ripple through the soul link, a shared pulse of tenderness and awe. "We are a paradox," she sent. "A legend in the making, the soldier who fought with bare hands, the spirit ward who found her faith in a mortal's will. My elders still debate what to call us. Some think we are dangerous. Others hope for a future where the spark is shared, not guarded." Milo breathed in the scent of her, sharp, earthy, undeniably alive. "My commander said we're a miracle, or a warning." He squeezed her hand, feeling the answering pressure. "The truth is, I don't care what they call us. I only care about now." Syrah's voice brushed his mind, earnest and fierce. "You gave me more than survival. You gave me meaning. In the hive, I thought I would die. Alone I would have. But the link? Your spirit refused to break. It anchored me when everything else fell away." He smiled, warmth blooming in his chest. "You kept me going. Your faith, your fire. It scared the hell out of me. But it made me want to fight for something more than orders, more than just getting out alive." They fell silent, gazing at the endless tapestry beyond the glass. The stars stretched on, infinite, but for the first time, Milo did not feel lost in their vastness. He felt tethered, not by duty or blood, but by the living, pulsing thread that linked him to Syrah. She drew a slow breath, her thoughts colored by old sorrow but now edged with hope. "Sometimes I think I should let go. Return to my people, sever the bond, prove I am still Zevran. But the thought, it feels wrong, empty." He shook his head, voice rough with conviction. "You're still Zevran. You always will be. But you're more, too. We both are." She smiled, and through the soul link, he felt her pride, fierce and bright as a star going nova. You are my shield, Milo. He touched her cheek, thumb tracing the line of her scar. And you're my spark, Syrah. Footsteps echoed on the deck, the steady march of guards and officers, but none interrupted. The story of the human and the Zevran spirit ward had already spread, rumor and legend blending in the mess halls and council chambers. Some spoke of forbidden magic, others of unprecedented alliance. But Milo knew the truth was stranger, more intimate than either side dared imagine. He turned his gaze outward again. You think we'll ever go back? Be normal? Syrah tilted her head, considering. Normal is a story the fearful tell themselves. We are not normal, Milo. We are necessary. He laughed, a full, unguarded sound. I'll drink to that, if the fleet ever gives us shore leave. She squeezed his hand, sending a pulse of affection through the bond. I have heard of a world where the grass is green and the rain is warm. You promised to show me, remember? His chest tightened, a memory of Earth, a boy, a dog, laughter in the sun. He shared it through the link, the scents and colors vivid and true. Syrah's eyes widened, wonder filling her face. We'll go, he promised, together, no matter how far. They stood for a time in companionable silence, the soul link a steady heartbeat between them, no longer captor or captive, no longer alone. Just two souls, scarred, changed, but alive, facing the stars. Their union was a paradox, a legend in the making. The soldier who fought with bare hands, the spirit ward who found her faith in a mortal's will. Together, gazing at the endless stars, they were something new, a testament to a strength humanity never knew it had, and a bond the Zevran had never dared to hope for. He was her shield. She was his spark. Their story was just beginning. That's the end of the story. You can leave us a tip or become a channel member. This greatly helps our team improve the quality of our videos. You can send a tip using the Super Thanks button right below the video. We truly appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed and supported us. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.